is buffer time? What is buffer time? Is what buffer time?
Greetings, buffer timers. We're here. We're gonna talk about a thing. I guess it's Academy, maybe. Or is it Insurrection? Let's do Insurrection. No?
Can we do that?
All right, well, series Acclimation Mill it is, or Sam. But before we talk about Sam, let's go around clockwise and introduce ourselves. I'm Dustin.
My favorite Sam is probably Rockwell. Oh, that's not what we're doing. Sorry.
Mine's Gamgee.
Windgrace.
Charlie.
Now add favorite Sam to your hello.
I'm clearly Dax. Opinions no one cares about because everyone's Dax now. I don't know. Might be Charlie. Might be Winchester, actually. Favorite Sam.
You're at Daximum levels.
My name is Gannon from a channel by the same name, and my favorite Sam is Samantha Carter from SG1.
I'm Ren from Ren Rants. My favorite Sam is Samwise Gamgee, but series Acclimation Mill is close.
My name is Vanessa, and I host a YouTube channel called I Love Bad Star Trek. And I guess the only Sam that I can sort of like pull out of memory is Samantha Fox, some kind of 80s star. I don't know.
Sam I am with the green eggs and ham.
A Sam Bam, thank you.
Sam Beckett, nobody.
That was what I was going to come back to since I didn't get to play
okay.
the game. Sam Beckett, Quantum Leap, all the way.
Well played.
Okay, well, about today's Sam, let's start with this thing. Did you guys notice on your first watch that a story about me shortens to a Sam?
I did not, but that is incredibly
Didn't notice until you
cute.
said it.
Not until I was told about it. No.
I
It
didn't
is so
catch it in my
cute.
first watch either. But there's a lot going on with these graphic overlays in the intro. How does the breaking of the fourth wall square up with other times in Trek that it's done?
I think it's fine. I mean, basically it's done through the lens of her like narrating a letter to Cisco that we're just like watching happen. So I thought it was cute. Yeah.
She can like stop time and like slow it down to think and communicate with the other photonic beings.
Mhm.
So for her to be able to narrate the events or maybe even recall them this way is fun.
I don't think it's necessarily like she slows down time. It's just she processes
speeds up
things
her
so
perception.
fast.
True.
Like
That's
she
what
can
I-
have a conversation that goes on for a year in her own head,
I-
and it takes a second in the real world.
I didn't mean
guess
that
is what we're
literally. Like, I
seeing.
didn't mean she was a god of
Okay.
time and space.
Yeah.
I just meant that she can like slow down the events from her perspective.
Mhm.
I saw it
Doesn't
as.
help-
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say it doesn't help with the comparison to other like teen shows and stuff because it does call to mind like the Zach Morris Time Out.
I think they actually stopped doing that after a while or something. I don't know. You don't see Zach doing that in the later season.
In the college years, he
Just by the
stopped.
Bell lore expert or something. But I watch a lot of Zach Morris's trash. So, anyways,
It's not really
You
the
know,
same,
I-
but like kind of like Lizzie McGuire.
yeah,
He, like,
I
stopped
actually,
the show and like animate. There was like animated Lizzie McGuire. Talking
Yeah.
Yeah, I also thought of like Clarissa Explains It All, Fourth Wall Breaking. It's very in that style, but I also thought it had a lot of common threads with Dear Doctor in Enterprise, the way that started, and Data's Day in the beginning when that started. So that sort of expository style is not unique to this particular episode. It's just stylistically, the graphics sort of call back to other teen shows. And frankly, I thought that this was
This Data's Day.
yeah, like I thought it was
That's a day for Data. So
I thought this expository intro belonged at the beginning of the series. Like if the series was introduced this way, I think tonally it would be a little bit easier to work with than the hairpin turn of mutilating somebody and breaking up a family and then going, yay, we're at a school and it's fun time now, you know? Like I feel like it's easier to pivot to something a little more serious in tone than it is from something devastating and horrible to something lighter.
good old Ferengar.
I did.
Yeah,
like...
that's a weird one.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I did really like the way that it like helped get us into Sam's perspective. I don't know if it would have worked as well if we didn't already know Sam a little though, but I feel like you could have probably done something similar, yeah, if you wanted to start with like a lighter tone. But yeah, I liked the graphics. I thought they were cute. I liked the little like explanations and how they were written, and I wish I had taken more time to like pause and actually like read through them because I bet there's a bunch of fun little Easter eggs that I missed. I love Sam.
Oh, like
I
that
do think
one.
it's interesting she pronounces things funny. Like she called him a Keonian instead of a Kionian. And she called it the Kitomir Accords instead of the Kittimer Accords.
What that reminds me of so much is when you learn to read words phonetically, and then that's what you sort of imprint on your mind as how to say it, versus like yeah, that's just learning to read new words, the natural process of it.
Yeah, it also is. It's almost like she has a little accent, which I think is cute, like a little Kaskian accent.
I really would like to hear more about like this alien race that she belongs to, these photonic beings. Like
They're so cool.
Mhm.
I love that they don't have like, because Sam has the human body pattern, that is what I assumed that the Kaskians would look like. So seeing that they have their own like totally different like way of existing, it's so interesting. Now I'm so curious about like what do their cities look like? What does their day-to-day life look like? Like what
Just a
are their
server
laws
farm?
like all that stuff. I have so many more questions now.
I have a
Oh, yeah.
question from that earlier picture. What do you guys think the legal drinking age is in this part of the future? Because they were having 17-year-old Keonian guy just like drink shots. You know what I mean? Which is just, it's fine, it's a fiction, and underage drinking is like whatever. But there was a scene where the one lady came up and like gave them all shots, right?
Yeah.
You gotta assume that's alcoholic.
I assume it's probably like 18 or 20 or something. 21 feels very specifically American. The whole rest of the world is mostly 16 to 18.
One, you've got to keep in mind first of all, everyone is coming from a different sort of timetable on their ages and things. So
yeah, true.
You can't really have an overarching, because Kess would never be able to drink technically if you're just going to have an age thing on there. And then you've got people that, are just born as Sam was, who can't drink anyways, but she gets drunk regardless.
Do you think that maybe there is no legal drinking limit then, and that everybody's just supposed to be responsible and there are consequences for their actions?
What I'm thinking is that there's maybe there's an age where you can drink synthahol and then an age where you can drink alcohol.
Oh, that's interesting. Kind of like 16 for synthahol, 18 for alcohol, the way it is like 16 for wine and beer in some countries and 18 for hard liquor.
Yeah, I was going to say more like the UK.
I was assuming that they were all at least 18. At least.
I assumed Durham was at least similar age to the other older kids.
Yeah, I thought he was Caleb's age. Did he say he was 17 in this episode?
The screenshot of Sam showing
I totally missed that. That's weird. He doesn't look 17. I guess Kionians might age differently. Maybe 17 is slightly older for them. Aww.
Kionians apparently do very weird things like vomit glitter, and that kind of took it out for me.
That's
like the whole idea that a species can apparently ingest organic matter but throw up something inorganic.
Well, you can't. the way I think of it is like he's a weird little fish guy. So maybe his stomach is like lined with little fishy scales, and then it gets disrupted when he eats, and a bunch of scales get shed, and that's what makes the glitter. That's like my rationalizing explanation for it.
I don't know if this is what they were intending. I thought it might be like a cute little self-edit from Sam's perspective to not see the grosser side of it. It's like, and he vomits sparkles.
It would actually make more sense that it's glitter that way.
It goes along with another piece of this episode where it's like, how do you feel about the dick and fart jokes that come out of the episode? Like, this is kind of part of it here.
I wish there were less of them. I think like 1 or 2 would have been fine, but there was at least 2 specific dick jokes, and then like, it's just a little much, I think. And it does make the show feel a little bit less family friendly. And it's not that like Star Trek hasn't made weird sex jokes before. Like, are you looking for Jamaharon? But, you know, they didn't, it was usually like a little bit more obfuscated so that they could be like, this is still a family show.
I never considered this a family show, especially with the premiere, with the mutilation and all of that. And then the sort of like, you know, the sexuality sort of coming out a little bit more and more. I mean, even in the last episode, there was a pretty...
TNG's definitely a family show, and it's got the orgasm game episode.
Right.
Like, and the Beverly Ghost fucking episode. Like,
right.
It's always been, like, weirdly sexual, and I think it mostly goes over kids' heads, so it's
fine.
So, but, like...
Naked Picard getting tortured?
Explicitly dick jokes is, like...
Yeah.
The naked man.
Yeah, there's just, like...
Right now we're getting
naked?
naked?
I don't know if it, again, like Star Trek isn't necessarily billed as explicitly family friendly unless you're getting into things like Prodigy or something. So with this though, it's like it does make me question the tone that they're aiming for. It makes me wonder, like, are they going for a more Lower Decks type of tone where it's like light to the point where it's like, how seriously can we take this?
Yeah, like the Morning Wood joke felt like it belonged in the Orville.
Yeah, specifically because it is not Sam making the observation or anything, and it's not one of the students making this joke. It is the digital dean or whatever. So it's like, what is going on here? Like,
the laugh after was funny, but the actual line, I'm just like, bro, are you serious?
Yeah,
like, my guy, what is this?
Yeah, so it's like, what tone are they going for here? Are they going to be capable of taking on more heavy topics when the time comes? Because this is the last, you know, besides Strange New Worlds, the last live action, you know, branch of Trek right now. So it's like, we're kind of looking for something a little meatier than what they're doing, and we understand it's early days, but like, can they carry it if this is the kind of thing that they're defaulting to?
Well, then here's a question, because not that it's confirmed or anything, but this was heavily Tawny influenced, and she's theoretically working on that comedy series. So do you think this is like a proof of concept for what that show would be? And if so, do you think this is the type of thing you'd like to see more of?
No.
As a ongoing thing?
I don't know. I'm honestly pretty reticent about the live action Trek series because, like, Lower Decks, it really works as a cartoon. But, like, for example, the more comedic short Treks, I had a hard time taking particularly seriously, and I don't know if I really want a whole show like that. On the other hand, if it straddles the line the way the Orville did, maybe a little less Seth MacFarlane-esque, like, that's the problem, is this felt like Seth MacFarlane humor, and I am really meh on that. And I don't want a whole show of that, but if it's like funnier, I'd be fine with it.
Because to put it in the same breath as Lower Decks is almost a little bit insulting, because Lower Decks is incredibly meta. You know, there's several layers of meta before it gets to the dick joke. With this, it was like, oh, dick joke. Like, all right, okay.
Yeah, and most of the other jokes in the episode didn't land, at least for me. Also, it wasn't just the dick and fart jokes. They tried so many stabs at comedy. A couple of them got a chuckle. My favorite one was Genesis being like, "Did Cisco start a riot that I didn't know
No,
about?"
oh, I love
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Oh,
Tell Ryan to
yeah.
mention.
That's a good one.
I did like the I liked Kelrick's little line about his wit. I thought that was kind of funny. I have a biting wit or whatever. That was cute.
For me, you guys might think I'm a jackass for this, but weirdly enough, I thought it was genuinely funny. I laughed out loud when Sam got really drunk and went up to Caleb and was like, "You got a firm booty, Mir." And
Oh my God,
slapped him
that
on
was
his
nuts.
ass. That actually was pretty
Booty,
funny.
Mir.
It was a little
The
funny.
delivery,
It was
the delivery,
wild.
it came out kind of perfectly. Yeah, I got a laugh out of that.
That was cute. I did like her decking the Romulan and like yeeting her across the room. That was nuts.
Yeah, and like now with this sort of humor that they're taking on, and now that we know that Darum is 17, and it's like, how old are the rest of them? Like 17-year-olds in this sort of like sexual tone. It's again sort of veering into an uncomfortable area there.
I'm still
Yeah.
like I have just a different mind about that. As long as you don't like, if you keep it more like Degrassi direction in terms of like the sexuality, I think it's fine. If you go too far in the Euphoria direction, I think it starts to be a little like, please don't basically make this porn. Is basically like.
I think it's also perfectly normal for teenagers between the ages of 14 and 19 to have, events of sex in their life. You know what I mean?
There's some degree of
Discussions, they talk about it all the time. They want to
And I think
explore
it's
it.
normal to
They have
portray it,
discussions
make
with
it
their
gross.
inner circles. And also another thing, like in a lot of sports, same-sex sports, they just slap each other on the ass.
Yeah.
In football, they just do it all the time.
But
Okay.
yeah, I to an extent I trust the writers. I haven't seen any scenes that to me I was like, I feel gross watching this, which is how I didn't finish Euphoria because sometimes I'd be like, I feel gross watching this.
That's fair.
But I think it's fine to portray some amount of like young adult sexuality. Just don't make it nasty.
Yeah, I mean nobody's banged yet.
Yeah. And if they
Even-
do, I
even
think
like
it's gonna be
Caleb
more
and
implied
Tarima.
banging than like an actual sex scene, which I think is fine.
Mindscape banging.
Yeah,
There's
I,
The
I
Vulcan
imagine
finger
that
touching.
Ancient
Any
technology
amount of-
banging.
that is going to be very discreetly handled in this show. It's going to be like behind closed. Oh, the door closes and you know what happened back there. I hope.
Yeah.
But I mean, after this episode and its attempted humor, this is the first thing I've seen from Tawny Newsome that I'm like, no. Other than we'll get to Dax in a bit, but just the writing, it did not.
Something that we do
The
need to
jokes
take into
didn't land.
consideration is that I spent a long time watching the Q&A stream with Tawny the other night, and a large majority of the writing credits are not actually Tawny, but a comic book writer. And
Oh.
Tawny does give a lot of the credit to the decisions made in this episode to that writer, but I do think that the comedy elements obviously must have been handled by Tawny.
Are you talking about Nicole Bear, the other co?
I
writer
believe
on the
so.
show?
Tawny gave for credit for a lot
Kristen
of the
Bear.
Kristen,
decisions and stuff that they decided to do.
Yeah,
And she
she's
wrote a
done
lot of the dialogue.
She did some stuff for Picard in writing. She did some of the books. I've got a couple of her books. So, I mean, I didn't realize that she did a lot of comic work, but okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
she did,
I didn't
The
know
only
that.
thing they mentioned on the
Voyager
live
books
stream
and
that she did was like comics. So I thought she did comics.
Because I assumed that Kristen wrote most of the serious stuff and Tawny handled most of the jokes. Because this feels like, if you've ever heard Tawny Newsome do stand-up, or even just like the stuff that she worked with Mike McMahon to redo in Lower Decks, it feels like Tawny. I could be wrong.
No, I agree with you, Dustin. I agree. She probably did take all the comedy stuff because she's the comedian.
She might have taken a scene that already existed and then just added a joke to it or something.
I think it would have worked better. Like I don't know if the problem is the jokes or just that it feels like the jokes don't feel at home in the like tone of the rest of the episode. Like, because some of the comedy does work for me, and I think some comic relief in an episode like this is fine, but it is dealing with like some really just intense emotions from Sam, and like she's exploring like her own identity and really her personhood to an extent. And it feels like there's so much going on in this episode that a lot of the like comedic stuff is taking up too much air in the room when I want to actually focus on Sam's journey. Like the Calrec plot, like the B plot, on its own, I liked those scenes sort of, like they were fun, but I would have liked them better not in this episode. It felt like every time we switched to the B plot, the whole episode kind of ground to a halt, and I was just sitting there waiting to go back to the A plot again. And like the theming is good in the B plot. I like that she's continuing to like earn Calrec's trust, and I like that kind of we see more of his perspective about how like he was born during the burn, right? He lived in the worst Federation, and he stuck it out when things were tough. And from his perspective, she just fucked off and left. And now she comes back, and it's all a ha-ha jokey joke for her, and her academy's like depleting his resources and stuff. And like he feels slighted and knows that he's becoming obsolete, and I think that's like pretty well done, but then it's also resolved too fast, and it just feels like it would be better to explore that in another episode.
I just wonder why we need to spend any time dabbing away his tears or stroking his ego. Who gives a shit about how he feels about like, oh, I feel obsolete? So what? Isn't that a good thing that like being more militaristic and like strict is no longer necessary? Get over it. Cry a river. Like, you know, get another job. You know,
I don't know. I'm okay with it. He sees himself as, I think, having sacrificed a lot for the Federation to like keep it going when things were horrible.
Then he succeeded. So
and now, but now it also feels like they're discarding him, right? They're basically like, okay, good job. We don't need you anymore. So like, I get why his feelings are hurt, and I think his journey to like learning not to be a little bitch about that is good.
Hopefully he does better than Idris Elba.
That's like, but that's like part of the game. That's the thing that he fought to defend. So it's like, okay, you won. So then go home. Like
that's not how it works for soldiers generally. Like people that defend and win the freedom are usually the ones that can't live within that world because they've been turned into the people that have to be in a war zone.
That sounds
have to have like, conflict.
That sounds like the way people describe, you know, being let out of prison. It's like, oh, that's all you know. But
well, no, it's that, but they're not doing what needs to be done to get him to that point. They're just leaving him on his own and be like, figure it out in the world yourself.
Yeah. So he's having like a rough time adapting to things changing, but I like that he does seem to be changing, and like, you know, part of that's through like the mutual respect and friendship he's slowly building with Ake. And like, again, I like it. I think it's interesting, but I also think it doesn't, like, it's not great in this episode. I do like that it like mirrors the themes of like the makers not trusting organics and having to build that trust. That's kind of cool, but like, I don't know. It's not quite enough for me to justify how much time we spend on that when like I just want to be on Sam's journey. That's what I would have liked to focus on.
You just gave me more to think about in that scene, Ren, than in 3 watches, because we'll talk about it a little bit more here, but in a bit. We can keep going on this one.
It is interesting because another thing Tawny said during the Q&A was parts of her wish that she didn't have to put so much exposition for new viewers to explain Cisco and kind of give them a grasp of what they were exploring in the episode, and she could just do more in the episode. Well, if that's how you feel, then why don't you just cut out this, in all honesty, just redundant side plot with Aki and that guy? I mean, you could just replace that all with more scenes of the cast of young adults, and you could have the teachers, these scenes of them kind of looking in at their adventure or Sam's endeavors, like more of the Cardassian Dax, more of the teachers just kind of looking in, but they don't deserve like a whole. And another thing that's just kind of irritating about that subplot is we never get to see him interact with those diplomats. Like it's
Yes.
open-ended. It's just complete trash. It just takes up screen time in an episode that you shouldn't have to fill up screen time with that type of plot. It is a true flaw in my opinion.
But and speaking of that, like if she really needed more time to tell this story, earlier in the season wasn't shy about adding 30 minutes. Like there's hour and 20 minutes. This was what, 54 or something? Like they had time to add more if she really wanted to.
I think like what this is the thing with Kurtzman Trek in general, and I know this is like, you know, a dead horse we keep kicking, but and I don't know how many more shows Kurtzman has up his sleeve. I think this is the last one, is it not?
If they manage to actually produce that comedy that Tani's writing, they actually managed to like, you know, green light a season or two. This should be the last.
But Kurtzman has said he has 10 years worth of plans for Academy.
Yeah, I guess it's endemic to the 10 episode whole. It's like we have to kitchen sink as much character development into a single episode as possible. So not only do we have, you know, we have the B plot, which is Aki and this war college guy, but also we have the romantic thing, and we also have the romantic thing with Jaden. Like they have to cram in so much, and it's like for as much as like they try to focus on Sam, it's like everything, most of the things outside of that aren't actually necessary. There's so much that could be trimmed, but they don't, because they only have 10 episodes to make these characters memorable. And that's what happens when you try to take a sort of DS9 sized cast and cram it into a 10 episode thing, and you sort of like can't completely lean on the legacy characters because they're not the main people.
It's a great point, especially when Sam mentioned in this episode, like the semester's almost over.
Yeah.
Really? We just got here.
I thought it was only half over.
Yeah, midterms does sound like close to half over.
I would just argue we don't need to know anything about this dude. Like he's not that important. Just let him be a supporting character. Just be there to make scenes flow. Like we don't need to know about this goofball. We legitimately don't need to know about the chancellor of the war college.
There's also not much of a contrast between him and Aki. I know that one of them is, you know, it's very odd couple kind of thing that they're doing, but it's not meaty enough to really be this invested in it. I actually did enjoy the dinner scene. I thought it was silly. It reminded me of so much of like role-playing dinners that I've had. I had a live-action role-playing dinner that was Alice in Wonderland themed.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it reminded me of that so much, and like it's fun, but it's like, again, it's like this real estate could have been given to something more, you know, Sam related. There's so much in the DS9 world that could be explored, like the question that you're going to ask later about the child, Cisco's kid, besides Jake.
Well, let's clean up this dinner scene, because for me, this is the worst. It's not even just this scene, the whole B plot. This is the worst B plot in Star Trek for me. I cannot even with this thing. Before this, my two least favorite episodes both were O'Brien B plots in DS9. In particular, the one where like, oh, I can't put my kid down. I have to take him to work. Or he cries. And that's the whole B plot.
There
was another
that one's just boring. This one actively annoys me at every turn. Like, Jet Reno's the best part of it, and I didn't know that there was a scene with Jet Reno that I couldn't like, and it is this.
And the
you
thing
gave me something to think about, Ren.
Reno's kind of being painted as just like super annoyed all of the time, a little bit, and it's like Reno needs more levels to remain on the show as an enjoyable character. It's like the sarcasm thing is getting a little tired.
Oh no! Actually, like her jokes in here are some of the only ones that land for me. Just the little ones where she's like, "Nope, I'm okay with that." That description, like that was one of the best jokes in the whole episode. And I still hate the B plot.
I would like to see a little bit more serious stuff from her, but again, we have 732 characters in 10 episodes.
You want to know what was kind of cringe this episode is when Caleb went hacker man on it and just pulled up Sam's interface and just like, oh, I can do whatever. I can make you drunk.
Oh no, she had to give him access.
I mean,
but
even theoretically, if she gave him
still.
access, like, what makes you think that this dude can just like do whatever in an interface in 10 seconds?
Well, they've established he has crazy hacking abilities, so I wasn't too bothered by that. He's basically a genius at hacking things, and he was still like not figuring it out entirely. Like it took.
I
him
guess
a
I have no
few
problem with that.
tries.
It's just like the way he did it, dude. He's like, oh, let me pull this up. Do. It was a little bit of a hacker man instance just for me. That's what I.
Yeah,
I
that's
thought.
fair. It was.
I guess
It was.
it would've
It
been
was
weird.
very silly. It
Would
was
have been
silly.
weird if he's like, let me just
I'm-
genetically reprogram you really quick.
I'm mad she didn't get to taste
Yeah.
the gumbo. I was expecting that payoff at the end of the episode of him making her taste the gumbo, and also then the doctor
That'd be good.
being
did like
allowed to eventually taste
Cisco's
things
food.
too.
So like that like gosh, that gum from Willy Wonka that just simulates an entire meal kind of thing.
Oh yeah, the everlasting gobstopper.
Yeah.
No, that
It
was
just a
different.
gum.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's a different one.
Yeah, there was a
okay,
gum.
yeah.
The gobstopper never got smaller. It was just a candy.
It's everlasting.
Violet, you're turning violet, man.
But before we get out of the whole thing about the reprogramming, how do you feel about this list of illicit drugs on a show for young people on screen?
I didn't even see this.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I was focused on the whole 12 shots thing.
Codeine
Really. I was like,
Heroin
whoa, okay, you
and
no.
ketamine.
Like they didn't even throw in any like clever Star Trek like Tarkalian cocaine
Yeah, they should
or
have just
anything.
done fake drugs for
What,
you.
I don't even know what
All of them
Yeah.
should
CHB
have been
is.
fake
Why
drugs
do they
and
not
it would've
include
been fine.
psilocybin?
So
I think it's GHB.
yeah, GHB. The thing is, like, looking at this, I'm like, how are they categorizing it? Because heroin and morphine and codeine are all sort of like one family, right?
They're psychotropic sims.
Also,
Yeah.
she's totally missing any of the good stuff. Where's the mushrooms? Where's the acid?
Yeah.
Where's
exactly.
Chateau Picard?
Yeah.
This is a Discovery spinoff.
Nobody
They're
likes
eating
Chateau Picard.
mushrooms.
Yeah. I'm weirdly okay with it, but I don't like the categorizing methodology.
I think it's crazy that there's heroin on there, but not like less harmful ones. That's
Something
weird.
that would be so fucking funny if like part of this database was just information they got from Cask, like studying humans. So they had some slang terms in there for some of these drugs. That would actually have me rolling.
Uppers,
But they were
downers,
all
benzos.
I would like, why not make it so
We're
that
on
you
the
can,
edge of
like,
the
mess
desert.
with the molecular structure of the thing that you're putting inside of you and use yourself as like they could make her like a experimental mouse essentially.
Yeah.
Whatever. I just don't like the way they group things.
I guess I'm the only old
Right.
curmudgeon. I don't like this in my Star Trek.
No,
If this was in other shows that I watch, I would be 100% okay with it. I don't know that it belongs in a Star
It
Trek for
doesn't.
young people.
Unless it's
I
in
think it would have
symbiosis.
been it would have been fine if they made fake drugs. Honestly, just make up a bunch of like fake drugs. Klingon
Yeah, that
something.
could be-
What
that
are the
could be-
chances that
Orion,
codeine
whatever.
is still like a thing in the 32nd century? Codeine?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, are we kidding?
At least
Like,
have like
who
beetle
made
snuff or
that
something in there.
list? Like,
Oh god, yeah. There
how
you
old were
go.
they?
I do wonder how they were able to consolidate all of these experiences when her job is to sort of like gather information about organics. So it's like, how would they even, number one, even know about this stuff, and two,
Well, I think Caleb
know
wrote
about
a
the
program
effects
for
that
her.
it have on people to the extent that you
I'm-
would have like ways you can calibrate it, like, the shot thing.
Vanessa, I'm even doubling down on what I just said. Like, what the fuck are they doing with codeine on that list? Like, in a world where the common cold
Literally.
is cured, why would you need cough syrup? Like, there's got to be way better space drugs out there. There's
Codeine
no
is a-
fucking way that
Space
codeine should be on this
drugs.
list.
Codeine
Yeah.
is in syrup. It's a painkiller. Codeine
It's
is
like,
not.
it's like a high.
cough,
Isn't
cold
it like a
medicine.
high tier cough syrup?
What? That's
It
prescription cough
can
medicine.
be
It
in
used to
high
be
tier
in
cough
cough
syrup.
syrup.
Yes.
Okay.
I've
Sorry,
had
It-
I've had
people-
Tylenol with
people would
codeine
get
when that was
super
a thing.
addicted
That
to it.
missed that.
Like, it was
Right.
totally a thing.
Codeine
But
is
it's not really like a well-known thing even now anymore, I don't think, especially among like younger people. No, I don't like the list of drugs. I didn't notice it on a couple of the viewings.
At least it was another one of those blink and you miss it kind of things. I can.
Which good.
That is something.
Well,
No, I didn't. I don't like it.
but
Make up
But
fake
someone had to
drugs.
sit there and animate the whole.
Who is? I just want to see this the photonic being that's like, yeah, I'll do the heroin and the codeine and the alcohol and all that, and like let y'all know how that is.
For science, for the mission.
Sam, please report heroin experience at 0800 hours.
Were you trying to get something in there, Scott?
I was just saying, I think everybody was just distracted by the fact that Sam was like immediately like, I'm doing a dozen shots of vodka right now.
Yeah, that's a lot of shots.
Immediately seeming like that.
Like, that's you don't remember tomorrow amount of shots for most people.
That's like, I'm not conscious anymore amount of shots, you know, like brownout.
When I was their age, I probably could have done that.
Yeah, but especially if it's your first experience ever.
Well, I'd be like dead.
That's a good point.
I'm with Scott here. This should be a puking glitter amount of shots.
Yes. That should have been like a call. They should have like paid that joke off again. Like I wouldn't have had a problem with it the second time if like part of Caleb's reprogramming was that if she pukes glitter.
Or like Caleb's finger slips and all of a sudden she's like tripping on shrooms or something. Or like Ren said, something a little less, I don't know, alcohol is pretty destructive.
Yeah. But at least it's like somewhat more normalized than heroin. What the hell? What the hell?
Yeah, that one in particular pisses me off that it's there. Anywho, let's get on to something a little more serious. So something that either this is a gigantic oversight or there is some backstory that maybe is going to pay off in a future trek. But what happened to the child Cassidy Yates was carrying when the Cisco ascended? Because we see this giant wall of the descendants of Cisco and his lineage, and there is no child between him and Cassidy Yates, but Cassidy Yates is also on there.
I think, in all honesty, all right, I need to go back in DS9 to see how true this could be. But what if, they made a decision to make the child's identity not really known to the public or to the greater history? Because obviously, if Cisco is gone, he's not going to be really there to protect Cassidy and the child from a whole planet of zealous believers.
No, I think there is a child. It's just covered by Jake, right? Because there's Cassidy and
no,
there's
because
the little line to the child, right?
Yeah, no, the line goes to Ben. So that's the line between her and Ben, and there should be a child coming off of those two lines.
See, I'm kind of with Gannon. Is my headcanon is Ben did come back, but only to close friends and family, and it was never like a matter of public record, because technically the only word we have in DS9 is the word of Cassidy, if she were to report that. And I'm, is Starfleet really going to necessarily believe that? So, like, for all intents and purposes, he was lost in the fire caves. He probably came back to visit with at least some sort of his friends and family, especially Dax, who we see is potentially still helping perpetrate that secret based on some of the things she has in, well, I don't know if we're spoiling that yet, but in this very episode. So I think it might be more of a private thing, and it was just not made public to anybody outside of a few people from DS9.
I just kind of think that the writers of the show didn't know. I think they fucked up. I think they dropped the ball. They don't know that they didn't see that Cassidy was pregnant when I think it was just they didn't go into it, because like I get why Jake is included because he's a known character and we're aware of him, but how impactful would it have been for Sam to meet the daughter of the prophet, like somebody who's more in gender alignment, see, like for us to be introduced as DS9 fans to this daughter or child rather, or like it could have been a private thing, but I feel like they could have like Dax could have dropped a hint about that.
Mm-hmm.
They could have like said something that could have been interpreted either way, but DS9 fans would know, kind of thing. But like they just completely left her off of the family tree and out of dialogue. Jake doesn't talk about her. Nothing in the history about it. It's like this feels like they just didn't pay attention.
Yeah. At the same time, I find it really hard to believe that we made this entire gigantic wall of the Cisco family lineage,
This
but we
family
forgot
tree looks
something
weird.
easy.
And if it really
Like
is
how it's put
Kristen
together
Beyer,
looks really weird.
who has written extensively like
Because
fan
it looks like
fiction-esque books, she wouldn't have not known that.
it looks like Jake's children aren't on there either, or at least there's no line going from Jake that makes sense for children either. I'm so confused.
Real quick, I have to say, I keep on quoting this damn live stream that I watched, but Tani brought up a point about how, you know, she's a writer for the series. Her name is listed twice on the wall of like famous people. She's listed as Mariner, and then also everybody in the writer's room got credited.
Yes.
So her room is listed twice, and she's like, I don't know why they did that. We didn't even know they were going to have a wall of honorable people. It makes me seem like an egomaniac. It also leads me to believe that she is not, and the writers are not responsible for this wall that they've conjured up. So Vanessa could also be completely correct that this is a fucking terrible mistake.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes right down to it, even if you want to headcanon away the kid, Cisco's sister Judy isn't on here either. So that's just, we already know they fucked up there. But to me, I guess if I'm going to headcanon this, there's one of two explanations, and one is not very pretty. The prophets told them that they would know nothing but fucking sorrow. Cassidy probably lost the kid. My other piece of headcanon is that maybe she froze herself or whatever you do until Ben comes back. That's my headcanon, and maybe that's something that's going to happen, and I think Penny Johnson could still play that role and pull it off today.
Well, there is a character in this episode that I'm going to headcanon was the daughter, but that's definitely not accurate.
Okay.
Or the privacy thing. It could be that she just didn't want to be on record or something, but it's like, you know, they could put a thing on the family tree that says, you know, unknown child or something. Yeah,
and what did Cassidy do after that? If she didn't have more kids, Jake didn't have kids, it definitely seems like if there wasn't a big problem, they were doing something in secret.
My final comment on this, because we would talk about it, is that I just firmly believe that once Ben was out of the picture, Kira, in her wisdom, thought it was a good thing for them to just not be public, because she knows the Bajoran people, she knows the dangers, she probably has a responsibility to protect Cisco's daughter while he's away, and Jake, to a certain degree, is like a young adult, so Jake doesn't need as much protection. They already know about him.
He also writes for the Federation. Anyway.
That's a good point. So speaking of Jake, do you think Jake is bald and has a beard in an unconscious tribute to his dad?
That's definitely like father, like son. Like, I think that maybe he was just starting to bald a little bit. He thought the time was right.
Even this way he's standing, facing away from Sam, is very Cisco-esque. That's sort of like how he was able to sort of collect his thoughts. Yeah, there were little physicalities that he took on Cisco-esque type of stuff.
I have another oddity in the episode. In the museum, why is Benny Russell's typewriter there?
There's no explanation for that. That's just some bullshit.
I agree. That doesn't make sense. Yeah, doesn't make sense. I guess like if it's a projection, but it's like how would they even know what was in Sisko's mind at the moment? Like that's not.
Well, Benny Russell was a real person, but
Was
the connection
he?
is because in Strange New Worlds,
he wrote
Benga
the
read her
Elysian
daughter.
Kingdom.
Yeah.
See, that is not. I'm ignoring that. That's not real. I'm sorry. That is not real.
That's
that
real.
doesn't count. No, it doesn't count.
How is it
I'm
not
saying-
real?
There's
It's
no connection.
real!
There's no connection. No
It's
connection.
real.
There's no connection. That's one of the worst Strange New Worlds episodes. There's no connection. That could be any Benny Russell.
I love that. I love that episode so much more than I liked the bulk of this.
Right. Well, we can be calm about it, but being calm never got us a damn thing.
Mhm. And
So like, but Benny Russell, if he's real, would have nothing to do with Sisko, would he?
unless they were to come up with some, I mean, Sisko told the story to some people about seeing this guy.
Yeah, maybe he tracked him down and bought his typewriter on
Yeah.
future eBay.
And I did compare this to the actual one from the episode from Far Beyond the Stars. It's not the exact same typewriter either. It's pretty close. But the only other explanation then in universe that's clean is that it's Jake's, and maybe some of Jake's stuff ended up in the collection.
Right. Like after the Muse, he got really into analog ways of writing, I guess.
That would be a great explanation how like Jake in his, career of writing collected a vintage typewriter for his collection. It just so happened to be very similar to Benny's.
But this isn't the Jake Museum. It's the Sisko Museum.
Jake
right, but I mean, that's kind of a big part of.
Jake was there during the events. He also fought off the pod race, didn't he? Didn't they use his body? Mm-hmm. So I feel like he's part of the legend.
Yeah. I mean, for me though, I guess the easiest way to explain it would be that yes, Benny Russell indeed writes all of Star Trek. It all comes from his head, and if he wants his goddamn typewriter in the show, he can have it. All right. With, just over 10 minutes left, what else do we have? Jaden and Kyle up in a tree. Discuss.
So cute. I
so
did not need more of the Caleb and Tarima romance. I did need more of the Jaden and Kyle romance. And I also think it's very cute how obviously jealous Darum is, since he interfered 2 whole times with their flirting.
Oh God, I never know. It's even in this picture. He's annoyed right there. Holy shit!
Yeah, and he
you pick up on this
they
stuff.
dance together, and then when they're flirting in the atrium, he's like, "Jaden, you're in a no go zone."
I thought I really enjoy the idea of a queer Klingon man. Like it's it sticks out so much because Klingon, especially men, are painted as the straightest of the straight, out the male, constantly aggressive, fighting is the one thing you do. And so for a Klingon man to be like, I'm not a warrior, even though the whole timetable on coming out as not a warrior is dubious, but that whole thing with his family, and then going out to a club in San Francisco and hanging out with guys, I'm into it. I like that. I enjoy it very much.
Kyle's also so cute. He gets hardly any lines, but all of them are great. You have a capable bearing. Nice jackets.
Yes, he likes his bearing.
I just think that it's good that Trek continues to, it happens a lot, not a lot, but I'd say a fair share in Lower Decks, and then this is probably a newer thing for live action specifically, is just unapologetic homosexuality. Because in previous iterations of Trek, they always tried to create some kind of thing to ease you into it, like using Trill, different identities, or trying to soften the blow. But we just need it organically, you know what I mean? Just unapologetic, just
say cute Colbert and Stamets, they were really cute.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
But otherwise I do agree with you though. I think this is the best
especially for a young adult show, I just think that this is very healthy and good for Trek to continue to do stuff like this. We don't need to try to make it seem like a lesbian relationship is okay because the user used to be a male. You know what I mean? We just need same-sex relationships shown
Or
organically.
like the very first Trill episode was, ended with like.
Oh yeah, Beverly being like,
no
sorry,
homo.
no homo.
She's good. She can bang Riker, but not another lady. Riker and a ghost are fine.
That's the bridge too far.
I mean, that's what I actually have always liked about the depiction of the mirror universe starting in DS9 and on, where like other types of sexuality, it's just like, it's a thing that happens and it just is. It's been a little more couched in like, in between cheeky stuff in Straight Trek, but
and also like it's not that Jaden's in an established relationship where it's like it's very lived in with like Reno and her girlfriend. Like no, he's a single guy out on the town. Like it's a different thing, and I enjoy single queer people being depicted.
It's a single guy with his first taste of any sort of, not even relationship, just friends, just figuring out what the hell he is.
I dig that he's wearing the two-piece skirt, and I don't think I have an actual screenshot of that, but that was pretty cool.
I love to see it.
What do we got to finish this? So, Tawny Dax, what do we think? I mean, we've talked about Tawny's writing style. Let's get to like the big reveal here before we run out of time.
I was screaming and kicking my little feet. I was really excited.
It's just like what fans have been asking for so long. Like I feel like fans have been asking for Dax in a billion different settings in a billion different ways just to be introduced, to just let us know that the Dax symbiote survived long term. And this is just no matter. I mean, obviously, I have a lot of nitpicky things about the episode. Even this, I feel like could have had better delivery. But at the end of the day, I have to take a step back and just appreciate that Tawny Newsome did something for us that we've all been begging for probably decades now.
So
but
go ahead. Sorry.
It raises a question though, and I'm not sure if this popped up immediately for anyone else, but like, how old is this symbiont? And because if I'm not mistaken, it was like already 100 years,
something
hundreds of years old. Sorry.
It should be 1700. I had seen somebody did the math and it checked out.
Wow.
About 1700 and something years.
That's quite old.
I mean,
symbiotes aren't immortal. Like they'll die eventually. So I think this is probably like past even a symbiote's life expectancy.
Well, there's a couple things like obviously Discovery established one thing, but we don't know what's happened in the intervening years. Like she could have been in stasis for 500 years. Maybe she went to the Meridian world and was non-corporeal for 500 years for a while.
That's a really good idea.
We don't necessarily know she lived straight through, or they don't have advances in medical tech. She's clearly not a pure Trill here. She's half Cardassian. So like, who knows how that might impact things.
I like this for a couple reasons. Number one, as a legacy character, Dax makes sense. Yes, maybe it's a little long in the tooth for a symbiote, but the fact that, we are aware that symbiotes, who knows? It could be that they develop technology to prolong their lifespan. That's another thing with the burn. It's like we're playing the ball where it stands. We're a millennium ahead of time, but it does present these kind of issues where it's like, it's so far ahead that it's like, okay, how much of our legacy things can we drag into the future? I also like this because it's a Cardassian Trill thing. So we have a symbiont in somebody who's only half Trill, or at least half Trill, or maybe even less than that. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoy those things, and I think it makes sense for the symbiont to be the curator of this legacy of Sisko's.
Mm-hmm. I also really like
that.
I have a burrito I have to grab. I'll be right back.
But yeah, I like it. I think it's fine. Plus, like, I don't know, maybe Dax is also just a particularly long-lived symbiont. I mean, Dax has sort of canonically had quite the zest for life, so...
Yeah, we don't know how long they can live. I mean, if Lanthanites can live for thousands of years, why can't a symbiont?
Lanthanites are so
It
lame,
is interesting
by the way.
Now it's in the body.
I'm sorry, Scott, go ahead.
Half Cardassian. Sorry. I just thought it's interesting that now the symbiont is in the body of what looks like at least a half Cardassian after we've seen Dax spend so much time fighting Cardassians.
It's more than that because she's also got the Bajoran nose ridges. So it's at least that many races, if not like a complete mutt of the galaxy. That's great.
I like it. That is cool. I honestly, like, throughout the episode up to the point that there was the Dax reveal, I was wondering if she was, like, somehow distantly related to Sisko. But
at first I was wondering, like, the Trill used to have, like, these super crazy standards about having a symbiont, but then when Disco came, they said they actually had the mismatch of not having enough hosts to take symbionts. So I guess that makes a lot of sense.
Well, they even showed in DS9 that was kind of a lie to for the public. It wasn't an actual steadfast thing. They were just making it up so that because they didn't have enough symbiotes to go around. They wanted to make people feel special. So it really could have been anyone.
Right. It could be anybody, but they clearly have to have some kind of Trill DNA.
Well, no, because Adira didn't in Discovery.
True.
Yeah, I mean, it was killing Riker, but I guess, like, Adira was just built
that was a pre-sexualized Trill.
Figure that
out. So with the last, like, 5 minutes or less, for me, this is the episode of Trek that has the highest highs and the lowest lows. Is that for you? And if not, what episode is? I know this is a deep one. And a tough one because I can't come up with a better answer.
Highest highs and the lowest lows.
That's really hard. I would say this one probably not for me. Like, I definitely think it had some high highs. I think the lows for me were more medium lows, but they just feel lower because of how high the highs are. I didn't think anything in this episode was, like, actively so terrible that I, like, wanted to fast forward through it on rewatch, for example. But coming up with one that's high highs and low lows that's worse is also hard.
I can't come up with a single episode. I can only come up with maybe a single trope, is that the burn was actually like a cool apocalyptic reset to the universe, and then it, obviously we got what we got. You know what I mean? Like, that had the lowest
cool premise.
Highs,
the reason was just dumb.
I really cannot think of a singular episode out of the 700 right now.
Yeah, usually when a B plot's really bad, the A plot's only mediocre at best.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, at least that's where it is for me. I cannot think of another episode that has these, like, amazingly perfect moments. The closest I could find was The Survivors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where, I hate the entire episode, and then the ending is amazing. At least this one, the intro and the ending are amazing, but almost everything in the middle just I kind of can't with.
I think for me, those are more like movie rubrics than episodes. But again, I think it's also just like, because it's a 10 episode thing, you have to cram in so much, and the writing quality may vary because it seems kind of fractured. The quality itself is fractured. So they're sort of super gluing these few concepts together so it does have the sort of polarizing, like, high, low thing, rather than a consistent tone and narrative style throughout.
Tripolar.
I guess I had a couple other just random questions. Does having a Bajoran club imply there's a club for most Federation worlds? That just seemed weird. Like, it's not like study of Bajoran religion or whatever. It's the Bajoran club.
Why would the Bajorans be deserving of a club more than any other fucking race at this point?
I would understand wanting to hang out with people with whom you have something in common as substantial as a connection to the prophets, wouldn't you just call that, like church or something, whatever they would call it?
Well,
Yeah.
I think it probably is about like Bajor's culture and religion and food and stuff, because like Occam was allowed to join and he's not Bajoran. So I think it's probably just like French club, but Bajor club.
Isn't this the same episode that Sam was like, we have like 4 billion races in the Federation? Like, it should just be a spiritual aliens club, and some of the members are practicing Bajoran arts. Like, it shouldn't just be a Bajoran club. There's not enough room on the damn academy for that.
I don't see why you're dying on this hill. I don't think it's harmful to necessarily.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's a culture that has a pretty strong food and religious identity.
They gather to have Hasperat and chat about the prophets.
Yeah, and there's nothing keeping anybody else from doing their own thing either. It's fine.
I mean, that they raised the question. All I'm just trying to say is like, but Bajor has been one of like the weakest planets in the entire Federation. You know what I mean? Like, they literally are a farmer's planet that has been under occupation.
And
if you dig a little deep into it, like why would they have an entire club just for Bajor in the 32nd century?
Why not?
I mean, I don't have a problem with there being a club. It just like the titling of it, especially, it implies that there are other clubs. We've got the Bolian Club, and the Zenkethi Club.
Ooh,
whatever else you got.
I want to. Yeah, let's go
deep cuts. The Hornets.
And they have enough of those half white, half black people to do their own club. Why not?
For me, it kind of reminded me of that like Lower Decks joke about like Ransom and Boimler and a few other people pretend they're from Hawaii.
Okay.
Anyway,
but on Voyager they had that whole luau thing, and it just it was a little different because they were clearly culturally appropriating. There weren't actually Hawaiian people on board. They were just generating photonically Hawaiian native people.
They needed something for the macrocosm to attack.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, we've been here more than an hour. Let's do our out of 10s. I'm not going to be super kind. I have been back and forth on this episode, both in my head. I've rewatched it a few times. It's got some amazing pieces. The ending with with Sisko, even though they just licensed Avery Brooks's stuff from his album from 2006, it really worked. It really speaks to today. It felt distinctly Avery Brooks. Like, before I knew it came from his album, I'm like, Avery Brooks wrote that. He didn't just say it. He wrote it. Because you can just kind of tell. The stuff with Jake, most of the A plot is okay. There's some dumb stuff, but the B plot, oh my God, it drags the entire rest of the episode down. And then there's some stuff that's not even really B plot, but just B roll, like the bad Colbert jokes. If you took 20 minutes out of this, it would be a 10. But that 20 minutes that you take out is a 1 for me. I can't give it more than a 3.5. I'm sorry.
Dang.
Our friend Dell couldn't be here tonight. He wanted to chime in with a 9. Go ahead, Josh.
So I guess this episode was, it was very up and down as far as what it was trying to do. It was juggling I wanted to see Sam's exploration from the very beginning. She was the character that I was most intrigued about learning about. And I liked a little bit of the beginning of when we got to see that. And then it just felt like the tone of this this young adult sitcom version where they started, and the antics throughout were a little bit at odds with the reverence and just the all around awe that we were supposed to feel about the DS9 stuff. It didn't really come together. And then you throw in the B plot in there, which felt like, I don't know, it was just kind of, they needed an excuse to show a bunch of the other main characters doing something. But the implications of that could have been interesting. Like, had we actually gotten to see the fire eels or whatever, or the actual negotiations at the end, it felt like something that could have been done in a later TNG episode, maybe with like Picard trying to study up for this, and you've got Data there misunderstanding everything. Riker's cracking jokes, and Beverly's just like, why am I here? But it didn't feel like either we didn't have the characters meshing together well, or they really didn't have a reason to tell the story aside from just being there. And one of the questions I kept coming back to is, take the DS9 out of it. I know that was kind of the whole inception of this, or at least the whole point of it. But if this was just Sam learning about some other person from Star Trek history that we as an audience didn't have preconceived notions of, would that have done anything for us? Or was all of the heavy lifting here just because we're bringing back these elements from DS9 we as the older audience want to see? Because if this show is truly for brand new audiences, brand new younger audiences who don't know Cisco, don't know Jake, don't know any of that stuff, is it going to hit for them? Or is that just going to be something like, oh, I guess that might be a callback to something my dad watched? I don't know. And that just leaves me feeling a little bit like it didn't go far enough with the DS9 stuff I would have liked. But what we did get was interesting and fun to see. I like to see Sirach back. Definitely not on my bingo card of people I thought would be coming back to Star Trek anytime soon. And just overall, it was a big step down, I think, from last episode, which still is my favorite. So I'm probably going to give it about a 5, I guess.
Okay, so while this episode is kind of muddled and inconsistent, I did like, the aesthetic of, how it was shot with Sam walking around explaining everything. I don't really know if everyone actually refers to her by that many nicknames, but it was fun to watch. And the whole thing, when she's explaining stuff thrown up on the screen, kind of reminded me of Spider-Man in a way. Doing animations and stuff. Yeah, if it had focused a little more on Sam and cut out that B plot that dragged it to hell, it would be a lot better. One thing I will say, a couple things I'll say actually. Also like seeing the appearance of Jake and learning that the Dax symbiont survived, even if it's slightly questionable. And I actually do like the fact that she did not solve the mystery of Cisco, because somebody said something about like the last episode where, like the future of the Klingon Empire was like decided by a cadet. Like why was all this important stuff being routed through students? And if they had done that, 2 episodes in a row, that would have brought this one down further, I think. So it's my rating is going to be above average, but still like the lowest of the season for me. 6.5.
So obviously when this episode, I first watched it and I was kind of raging in the chat because I'm so passionate about Deep Space Nine. I don't want anybody to really touch Cisco with the 10-foot pole unless you're going to do something amazing. But I have to take a step back and really appreciate the product that I got. I would really like to believe that the strongest parts of this episode were Sam. I was also kind of a little bit prejudiced and weary of this character. I was like, I really thought that they were going to cast that actor as an alien, but what instead I got like a human passing clanker. I was like, there's a clanker. What are we doing here? But no, I mean, I'm surprised by how much I love that relationship with Sam in her homeworld. The only thing I wish was that Cask had a better name. I think that's a kind of a weak name. And my standing theory right now, and the thing that I really want to be the case, is the reason why the Caskians are so uptight, so cautious, is because they're the photonics from Voyager that got massacred by the hologram program that Harry and Tom had, what was it called? Dr. Chaotica. Dr. Chaotica killed a bunch of photonics in Voyager. It would be really cool to see those photonics take place on a planet within the 32nd century territory and become Cask and send an emissary. And the reason why they're so uptight is because they've had run-ins with organics before, and they've got people murdered, like in the hundreds or the dozens, because of Professor Chaotica. This episode, for me, I just have to appreciate the fact that if Tawny didn't take the initiative as a Star Trek fan who actually has the power to do these things, to give us that amazing Lower Decks episode on Deep Space Nine with Quark and Kira, if she wasn't in this production staff, we wouldn't have had anybody to have the balls to actually be like, hey, let's kind of give what the fans what they want, and we need to reach out to Mr. Brooks. I know he's retired from acting. I know this is a stretch. I have a relationship with Sirach Lofton. We need to reach out to Mr. Brooks in the most, I guess, delicate way, the most proper way, and on his terms. She said this like 20 times herself. No other dumbass in this corporate production team for modern Star Trek is going to do that. Let's just be honest with ourselves. They're not going to do that. So the fact that we have Mr. Brooks even recording a voice line and to have some of the most beautiful scenes ever is just kind of a blessing. Like, for that alone, I give it a 6 out of 10. But at the same time, that it's being carried by that, because there are such weak aspects of the episode. Cut that entire B plot out. Doesn't need to be there in the midst of this treasure that we have. It's just complete garbage. We don't get anything of it from dialogue of characters that it's not necessary. Aki just being there for the kids is enough to show us about her character. She's talking about herself enough, being around these kids and being there for them. So I just think that, yeah, it's going to be a 6 for me. There is so many crazy things in this episode, and a part of me in my heart feels like I really wish like we didn't get all this stuff in Star Trek Academy, but I have to step back and be like, it's here. They decided to do an Academy because none of the other showrunners in those other shows were willing to do something like this. Tawny was. So I'm internally grateful for them for that, because otherwise everybody in this call could probably die before hearing Mr. Brooks do anything in Star Trek ever again. We could easily have died. He could have died. We would have never gotten him organically in another series.
I mean, technically, we didn't even get him in this one. It's a recording from 2006.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's from his album. It's from his jazz album.
He still let it happen. He still let it happen. I mean, you know what I mean?
Just getting him
in a Star Trek episode, getting him participating in it all. I don't care if he recorded this yesterday. I don't care if he recorded it 15 years ago. He is in a Star Trek episode again. His face was up in the clouds. And the last thing I will say, because I'm yapping, because I'm a DS9 yapper, is for me to be fully comfortable with this episode, I need to understand that Sisko is a god. Whatever we're seeing, whatever his story is portrayed in this episode, he has the ability to just create his own timeline. He's non-linear. He can go back and be with Cassidy and his daughter whenever he wants, regardless of what goes on in these shows. That's what I feel.
Linear.
Before you go, Ren, I wanted to play off something Gannon said. I have a theory that we're going to find out that the photonics of Cask are actually the other Mark 1 EMHs.
That was my original
the Doctor liberated, and that they like forgot who they were over time and just like evolved, and they felt mistreated. And that's going to be the whole thing with where we find out like the Doctor, and he's been through trauma and he can't be anybody's mentor.
Okay, that would actually make like the most epic Doctor episode of all time.
Their makers, and their makers didn't just leave. But then that's if they're not the Mark ones.
Do your thing, Ren.
Okay. I liked this episode better than most of you guys, I think. The stuff that worked really, really worked for me. I love Sam. I think she's just adorable. I love Trek episodes where they ask the question about like, what is a person? Like, what makes a person a person? And here I really liked Sam exploring the ideas of like predeterminism and how that impacts her life. I loved her connecting to Sisko over being an emissary. I thought that was really nicely done. I also kind of liked this like weird little irony that the way that she gets constantly like summoned and like, berated by the makers is very, very similar to how the Doctor was treated at the start of Voyager, when the crew would like deactivate him mid-sentence and basically didn't treat him like a person. So I think it's interesting that they've given her this job to see if like the organics are capable of treating photonics like people, while at the same time they're not treating her like a person. They're only treating her as their emissary. And so Sam, like throughout the episode, learning to stand up to them and refuse to be treated that way and to advocate for herself, like for me, that kicks ass. That was really good. The scenes with Sirach Lofton were wonderful. I cried at least 3 times in this episode. I just had all the feels. It was really well written. So it's hard for me not to give an episode a lot of credit when it gets me to like that extent emotionally. I couldn't verify it, but I'm pretty sure they used some of the actual like DS9 props in the episode, and I really liked that. In something else, I would have been fine with the Calric B plot. I just didn't think it fit well in this episode, and it did grind things to a halt. So that does really, reduce the episode from being closer to a 10, which it would be without that, to somewhere in a bit of a lower neighborhood. But there was just so much that was good. I think I'm going to give it like a 7.75. Like, it was definitely uneven, but the stuff that was good was like 10 out of 10, and the stuff that was bad for me was closer to like a 5 out of 10. Like, I don't really care about Caleb and Tarima. I don't need the Kelric B plot in this episode. If it had been more streamlined, this episode would have been flawless, but it was still pretty good. Like, I had fun watching it more than one time.
Round her out, Vanessa.
Okay, so I'm similar with Ren. I see eye to eye with Ren in terms of like how much I enjoyed this episode in comparison to the rest. To me, this is my favorite episode so far. The last episode had a lot of logistical holes that I found irreconcilable, and this one bypassed all of that by not setting up a completely improbable and ridiculous situation to sort of like set the whole thing up. So I wasn't like, why is this happening the whole time? Instead, I was able to just watch and enjoy it. So I enjoyed seeing, at first I was skeptical that somebody would care this much about somebody a millennium after the fact. Like this, somebody compared it to being this invested in a random picked warrior from, pre-Regency Britain or something. It's like, why would you give a shit? But like, I liked this storybook and the way that they explained him in sort of like short order for people that were not aware of him and everything, and not aware of the Cisco. I was kind of looking for a little bit more insight on the prophets, because I would think over 1,000 years you would like figure something out about them that you didn't know before and have an incentive to figure it out because of this connection with the Cisco. But, we got where we got. I enjoyed seeing Jake a whole lot. I did think he was a little like, la la la, everything's great. Like, I would think there would be some modicum of grief after your father just vanishes into thin air with your pregnant stepmother. But yeah, I loved seeing Sam grow as a person, to see how like experiencing something is different from understanding it intellectually. I think as a neurodivergent person, I relate to that quite a bit. Like things that live on the page must be experienced in a very immediate way to completely understand something, like the tomatoes and stuff. Why not have her have a tomato, like Ren said, like or gumbo or whatever? But I enjoyed the ending. I enjoyed, the push to determinism, and I also thought that the photonic, cask people were like parents, and this is a coming of age show, so it makes a lot of sense that they would be like on her ass about certain things like parents are, and having to differentiate herself because she's away at school, like children often do at this stage of life. And I thought that the shenanigans in the bar was really funny. Jackie Cox doing a cameo, the drag queen as the bartender was really fun. I don't know why they, like I mentioned in chat, but why they didn't have Caleb do the vomiting in the bar and then have the drag queen put it on as makeup or something. I thought that would have been an obvious thing, because like, what did drag queen wear? Glitter, hello. Anyway, really solid episode. I give it a 7.5.
Oh yeah.
Boy, I feel out of place here. And I still want to say that, like, I think that I still think Academy is my favorite new Trek so far. Live action anyway, because Prodigy season 2,
You like it better than
that's going to be
Strange New
hard to
Worlds?
talk. Yes, by quite a bit.
As a
Like
whole
every
product?
season.
There's only
Absolutely.
5 episodes out. You like it more?
Yes.
Okay.
There have been more good episodes already in 5 than in 3 seasons of Strange New Worlds.
I agree. Strange New Worlds is like really, really weak, but at least we have like a captain at the helm.
It's never
and we do some
bad. I'm not
exploring.
saying Strange New Worlds is bad either. Just I like this better. It was the dark horse. It was the surprise child that I didn't know I needed here.
Like, I was skeptical of it too. I thought it would be just like 90210 in space, and I couldn't stand that idea, especially with all the stuff.
Yeah, there's some of that.
And there's some of that, and I do think it would be really nice to see some like heavier topics tackled. But so far, it's been pretty solid.
Yeah, I've been loving it. I had high expectations, and they've been really exceeded. And I didn't. It actually does feel like they listened to a lot of our complaints about the prior like live action new Trek series, and like, you know, took them to heart. Like the fact that we knew all the cadets' names after one episode is huge.
Yeah, I know this crew better than I know Discovery after 5 seasons, easily. Except Michael. That. I mean, we know Michael Burnham really well, and if you don't, you weren't paying attention.
These aren't side characters. Everybody is a part of the cast. They're all explored.
It is a very ensemble cast, and I appreciate the crap out of that. They're using it better than Strange New Worlds, even.
I like that in almost every episode, even when there's a lot going on, there's almost always like at least 1 or 2 little character moments for each of the cadets. Like, they don't have to be huge, they can just be small background moments, but it continues like building this feeling that they're actual people with their actual relationships in an actual school. And it's just nicely done.
Just like back in the day when you'd have a whole 50-minute episode just about one character and what they're going through, and maybe you only have one cast member show up for like a scene or 2. But they still feel like they're there, you know what I mean? And it helps create that coherency.
That's one of the things we've been missing, and it seems like we're coming back. Like, all right, well, we got the Data episode today, and then we got the Troy episode next week, and then we're going to do an ensemble bit, and then it's going to be the Riker episode. That's even when it failed, even when there was a bad episode in there. Like, for me, this one kind of is. I know that next week I can come back and we're going to reset, and we have a new chance to tell an amazing story or another crap one. Who knows?
An opportunity to gamble.
We've been at this for a while. We got numbers all over the place. I expected a few more people to be down there with me, and for anybody that doesn't know me, I also rate against other Star Trek. It's not that, like, if I was just going to rate this against other television, this would be like a 6.5 or a 7. It's fine overall, but versus 900 episodes of Trek, I think there's at least 600 episodes that are better. And some that are worse. Anyway, we'll come back. We'll reset next week. We'll see what we've got. I'd like to thank my co-hosts for joining me, and for all of you that have tuned in. So until we see you again, live long and